How are we?
Very good. I'm excited.
Me too. I was actually like such a fangirl. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually gonna like, because I tune into all your things and it's like I'm there with you, but this is the first time we've actually like chatted like a one-on-one. I feel very privileged and honored.
You're so cute. No, I'm excited. Yeah, I feel like you're always there when I do a live. So when you asked, I was like, obviously, I'll do that.
Oh,
Why would I not?
oh, I really appreciate that. Well, do you want to introduce yourself for everyone who doesn't have the privilege of tuning into you on a daily basis?
100%. So my name is Hannah Rose Cluley. I'm a business coach and mentor, and I specifically, well, not only, but specifically work with women more in the wellness world. And I love helping people find clarity, find confidence, find empowerment when it comes to just sharing your work online and selling and marketing yourself. That's really my zone of genius, is online marketing, especially on Instagram.
And I feel you might love that, but you definitely deliver on it as well. You're not just out here like preaching something that you don't practice and actually deliver. Like you are, I buy. We're killing it out here with actually, but not even just helping business owners. Like I feel like whether you're like that might be your target, but you know what you actually say is really more about like how you actually feel, and yeah, that can
Mm,
sort of go into business and sort of enable you to thrive better in business. But like this
mm.
work is all about like self work really at its core, and actually changing your mindset around things, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think what you said is so valuable, because so much of what I do share, particularly on Instagram, is less the strategy
Yeah.
and more the empowerment side of things, which can totally be inspirational to anybody. And I think you could have the best strategy in the world for like growing your Instagram or selling whatever it is that you're selling. But if you don't believe that you're worthy, and if you don't believe that you deserve it, and if you don't believe it's possible, all the mindset stuff is never going to happen. And I think it can work the other way as well, but it tends to be that people are less on the mindset, whereas the strategy seems to be more available.
Yeah, I think that's actually really key what you've just said there, because I will have like everything done, honestly, Hannah. Like I spent like the last year writing a book, and it's the mindset stuff that holds me back. Like, so it's now like, yeah, I've got this book done. I've had it done for about 20 million years now. I write in the group every week. My goal is to launch my book.
Yeah, I
Have I done it
know.
yet? No, because I'm sitting working on all this stuff that is holding me back. I want to talk about money because everyone else has done enough beating around the bush around the topic. We need to talk about it and actually address our issues.
Why do you think, this is not obviously not a coaching session, but why do you think that you are beating around the bush?
Just due to, you know, holding yourself back, like that
Mm.
fear of doing something that you've never done before. It's terrifying.
100%. It really is. And no matter, I think one thing that people assume is that when you get to a certain level, these fears disappear, and they don't at all. They are constantly there. And even me right now, I'm not in a selling phase of anything. I'm just kind of running a couple of things that I've been working on.
You're
But
flowing.
even
You're literally
exactly,
in
I'm
flow.
literally flowing. I'm not pushing anything, and I'm like, oh, I'm not doing anything. What am I selling? Oh, and it's like there's always that little doubt and those niggles and that voice in your head that tries to tell you that you're not doing enough, or that it's not the right time, or like you're doing too much, you're being too over the top, or you're being not enough. Like it's constant. I think it's just accepting that it's always going to be there, and like working with it as opposed to fighting it. Like it's funny, I posted a post today, and some guy, I don't have anything against men at all, like I love men, but I
I
just think like
always do this as well, Hannah. I have to
yeah.
check myself. I'm like, I'm generalizing the whole male species, but there are
Yeah,
some.
but he's like clearly like a push masculine energy guy, because he was like, yeah, you just have to like completely break through your fear and like just smash through it. And I'm like, no, that's not what
You
it's
would have
about.
just
It's not.
done that already if it was that easy.
Yeah,
Things are very black
exactly.
and white to me, I feel, whereas we live in like technicolor. You know, there's a lot of like
Mm.
unraveling of things, whereas they're just like, just do it.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think when you are like crippled with fear and it just like take over a certain aspect of your life, it's impossible to break through it. Otherwise, as you say, you would have done it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm really glad you actually touched on that and shared how it is from your perspective, because I was thinking like that would be something I would love to ask you, because I see you as like someone that's so above me and someone aspirational to me of where I would want to get to, do you feel that yourself, or do you sort of still think you're like mini and look to others and think, wow, I could be doing what they're doing, I think as you grow, does your sort of progression in your mind grow so that you forget kind of in a way of where you came from?
Definitely. And I think that's why when you're working with your ideal client, and quite often your ideal client is who you were before you knew this or before you
Yeah,
experienced this transformation, it's really helpful because you're seeing it every single day.
it's like
But
grinding.
exactly, it's grounding, it's very, very grounding, and it just keeps on continually bringing you back to being like, oh yeah, I used to feel that way and now I don't. However, whenever you level up, you get to another level, and it's the same. It's like you're entering a new room, but the makeup of the room is still the same. So it's like there's still like something to fear, and there's still something to hold you back, and there's still something, well, there's still people to compare yourselves to. It's just like a new layer of it, and that's really what it's like. So it's not about just getting over the fear and then you're never going to have fear again. It's more like understanding your own process of dealing with it and working with it. I think that's the most important thing.
So it's like a continual work that you can't just like do one day or one week or one year and then give up. Because if you do give up, then you're literally just going to be throwing everything up in the air.
Exactly. And that's not what you want, right? If you really do have this dream and you do really have these goals, it is continual. And it's not to say that every single day is going to be really hard. That's not it at all. It's more like, it's the same when you're in a relationship with somebody, right? Like some days are really difficult, and then maybe the rest of the time it's all peaches and roses. But it's the continual up and down that I think
Yeah,
is
it's
how
like
it is, and you have
learning
to.
to ride those waves of life
Exactly.
for real. And I'm really glad you touched on that, because I was thinking, how do you know when you're settling versus, pushing yourself? And like
It's so
knowing,
hard.
because like at the minute, like before you started, were into your flow, like you would have been into that real like selling, you were like flat out, you need to get into this, so that's like a really different energy for you, as to
Mm.
now you are actually delivering what you were promising. And sort of now you're thinking, have you now, like in this phase where you're actually delivering, are you more full of like doubt and question? It's like every day is different. What story are you going to tell yourself today about your worth?
It is so interesting, and that's such a good mention. It is really a daily thing. It's a daily check-in. How am I feeling today? What is potentially coming up? And I think now that I'm in more of a steady state with my business and that the anxiety is no longer there,
Mm,
it's not the business that brings up the fear anymore. If those same thoughts come up, I can kind of quell them a little better. I think for me now, I'm seeing more of those fears in other aspects of my life. So
yeah,
I think that it's like if you have a really bad injury, it's like I've been watching House, the TV show that was on like years ago, and he's always got a really painful leg, right? And then he like hurts his hand, and then so his leg stops hurting just because his brain can only focus on the pain in his
yeah, it's
hand.
like
And
that cognitive flexibility.
I think that's really the same thing. So whereas previously my fear was very much focusing on business,
Yeah,
now that that's very settled, it's focusing on other dimensions of my life, which is fine because then you will continue to do the work there. But just because setting up a business is so unknown and it is so scary, and especially for women or people who have experienced womanhood, when we've never been told that it's been safe for us to do these things, so it's really hard, and it's so normal to feel either that it can't work for you, that you don't deserve it, that you're not going to be good, or that you don't know what you're doing. Those tend to be like the kind of main four fears. Like it's so normal.
And do you feel as a woman in particular that, you come across like no matter how like strong, you can be in your own mindset, like, yeah, I can do this. Like, do you find there are daily sort of just voices and people in life that can come in the DMs or wherever it's coming from, like friends or family slipping and sliding into your subconscious, being like, but what if? Like, do you still find that, or have you been able to just cut that out and sort of, maybe it depends on the day for you as well and how you are?
I would say that I'm super fortunate in that both of my parents are very supportive. My whole family is really behind it. I wouldn't say that all of my family understand what
Yeah.
I'm doing because it's very different. But I come from a lot of like freelance, self-employed business owner. Like that's what my family
Okay.
does. So I'm very fortunate. And then all of my friends get it. So I am very lucky. I think
But you've created your own luck. You're not just lucky. Do you know what I mean? I think, you create your own luck. Like, you could have just sat back and done nothing.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's when I hear that like my clients, for example, have parents who don't really get it or like who
I
aren't
know, so
particularly
you feel like
supportive.
guilty in a way that you have had it better, but I guess, yeah, we've all had it better in some ways and worse than others.
Yeah, I think it's definitely always this dichotomy of like both accepting what you were given, but also acknowledging that you put the work in. I think
Yeah,
being privileged is a sliding scale. And I was very privileged when it came to the family department in this particular area, and I fully acknowledge that. But if I didn't have the drive, then I wouldn't have achieved it. So you know what I mean? Like it is definitely part me, part my circumstances. I think what I notice now is like when and that voice doesn't come in the form of friends or people. Like I don't really get DMs from people that are negative. I mean, I sometimes do, but I just ignore them, so it doesn't even take up space in my mind. Um, but I think it's like when I'm watching TV shows, or especially like older TV shows, like I don't know what they're going to do when they make TV shows now because we're all so switched on and conscious and like aware of what we're saying. Like it's never going to be any comedy because everyone's just being so mindful of everyone else. Like it's a
we're
great
all
place to
this new
live.
woke generation
Oh, we are like, what are they going to make TV shows about? I don't know, but I think that's when I
because we're
noticed it.
all so teetering around, making sure we don't say the wrong thing. Like, even when I said women there, I was thinking, oh my gosh, do I need to say eggs? It's like all this, like, you don't want to step on anyone's toes to make them feel like unworthy or not seen or unrepresented. So there is a lot to.
There's so much to digest and dissect. I think that because we are on this precipice of being so politically correct, and I
Yeah,
don't use that in a negative term at all, and maybe politically correct isn't the right word, but as you say, inclusive. But there is no perfection yet. Some people think that woman with an X instead of the E is good. Some people don't like it.
yeah,
A phrase that I was introduced recently was people who have women and people who have experienced womanhood, because
yeah,
a non-binary person or a transgender person could still have experienced womanhood and therefore understood the oppression that
yeah.
that brings and have felt that. But there's no right or wrong answer. It's kind of impossible to get it right.
I feel like it is just a continual lifelong learning process as well.
Totally.
Like, where, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, like, your awareness now of all these things, we're
Mm,
learning and educating ourselves daily on these things and, really working as if we're trying our best. We can't really regret or feel bad for something we've said. With social media, especially like what we say, we're putting ourselves out there, but it's not realistic to expect yourself to always feel the way you feel now. We flow and we change, and we can always just, one day we can wake up and think, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something different. And that's fine. Like, we can. What's stopping us?
that's totally it. And I think it's very much moving away from the mindset of you have to be doing this for your whole life. That's
Yeah.
not what it's about anymore. It's about listening and being willing to change something if it doesn't make you happy, because nothing is forever, everything is impermanent. And I just fully believe that everything is in your life for the time that it's supposed to be. It's just hard to accept that sometimes. I think when I think about, for me, it's more like a romantic relationships. I kind of like expect that once they're there, that's going to be it forever. And sometimes that's just not the case.
Yeah.
It can be very like fixated on those things. The same with friendships sometimes, like you just make an assumption that it's going to be like that forever.
And then if
that
it's
takes
not,
away
it's
the
like
awareness. Exactly. And then, and if you have that attitude, it's more likely to not be there for a long time because you're less likely to continue to put the effort in, you know, whereas I think your business,
and you just settle, so you're just
100%. I think with your business, you're always wanting to strive more for it and grow it, whereas I think with a relationship, you can just be like, oh well, this is enough. And
I think that's actually a reason, we're delving into all different areas here, but that's a reason why so many marriages nowadays are failing, because people just sort of think, oh, I'm married now, like, we're together forever, so it doesn't really matter. And then they just don't make the effort, like, to go on dates and to make the relationship spontaneous and to actually enjoy each other's company. You just sit there, you never actually speak to each other, and you're both miserable. Like, you'd rather actually die than spend time in their company. Like, what? That's no life to me. Like, I
think, I agree with you, but it's like, if with your business you were to just sit back and expect it to grow without any effort, it's definitely not going to. And I think that with the increase of social media and the increase of just like the general amount of information we're taking in every day, it's not like when our grandparents were getting married that they probably would be they wouldn't meet a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? So now it's not that temptation is bigger at all, that's not the thing, but you're more likely to meet more human beings in your life. Like, that's just kind of normal, and come across more things. So not that, and I think
also there's like a whole element of the grass is always greener, and people are actually seeking perfection. It's like, oh well, what I've got, it's good, but oh my goodness, look at that shiny diamond over there, I want that. The field is much more broad now, and
that's very true. And I think that can also be a form of escapism if you're not happy with something, or you're not willing to put the work in. I mean, there's no sweeping statement that is for everybody, right? But I think everything involves work, even your own self-worth, and it's this acceptance that it's never going to be perfect, but it's also always going to require some work, which I think is annoying because we want things to be perfect.
I know. People always often give up whenever the going gets tough. And it's whenever the going does get tough, that whether that be with challenging your mindset, whether that be in relationships, whether that be booming your business, that's the actual time to really sit down with yourself and do this work, rather than just focusing on the strategy things, because they actually really don't matter at this stage. It's, as you keep saying, you can know all the tricks and tools of what to do, but if you don't actually feel like you deserve it, or you're worthy, or that it's actually possible for you, then it's not gonna be. And I do believe that it comes down to like what you feel about yourself. That is actually what you're getting.
And I do think that not enough people talk about things going wrong, like especially in business in particular. Like, nobody talks enough about the errors and the mistakes that happen. So when it does happen to you, like say that you're launching a program and you don't get any signups, you assume that you're the only person. And then with that, not only is there disappointment because no one signed up, and there's a feeling of like, oh, I've got to do it again, but it's almost like a shame because you think that you're the only person experiencing this problem. But the failure happens to literally every single business. And if there is no failure, then like if you don't get no's and you don't get people saying no to you and you don't get things that flop, you're never going to learn. And I think it is those learning moments. It's like you only learn at school by getting questions wrong. Do you know what I mean?
How did you learn to walk? Because you kept falling. Like, I think to really have the mindset of using failure as fuel rather than failure as fuel rather than failure to fall. And you really do have one of two options there, right? I just wanted finally to touch on with you about the fact that you always sort of preach sustainability. Do you know, there's so many coaches out there that will be like, oh my gosh, so I made 8K months in 2 days, and this is how you can do it too if you follow what I do. Whereas I think what's really different about you is that you will say like, no, like off maybe, you know, maybe that is possible for you if you put in the work and depending on where you are now. But that, you know, would you not rather be aiming towards sustainability and going at a pace that feels right for you rather than, you know, just expecting it of yourself or from some other course to bring this to you?
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting element because I see sustainability. I try to be sustainable in my everyday life in general anyway. Like I'm definitely not perfect.
Yeah.
And I think like the
it
amount
doesn't
of like
exist, Hannah.
it doesn't exist. But I think having that awareness anyway in my day-to-day life and just the products that I buy and, you know, all that, the things that I use. And then how can you carry that sustainability over to your business so that you're not burning out? Because I think, especially when you're somebody who has female hormones, like most, you know, most women, you're in fluctuation mode constantly. So I think the expectation that you can be 100% go all the time, especially in like such a masculine business world, because it is men who built the capitalistic world that we live in, and that's not a bad thing, right? It just happened to be that's how it was, and women used to stay at home and look after children. Like my grandmother worked, but it was quite unusual for somebody in that generation to have a job as a woman. It's very new that women are working, and because our hormones literally work in such a different way to men, like men peak during the day and they go to bed at night and then they wake up and it's a new cycle for them. It's like a daily thing. Whereas we go through our monthly cycle, or like almost monthly. And I think that's really what it's about. It's about, first of all, checking in on a month-to-month basis that you're covering your bases there, so that when you are on your period, you know, you take a bit more rest. And then if you are selling, maybe you would do that when you're ovulating. But then I think it's about kind of broadcasting that out to the wider elements of your business and understanding that it's never going to be 100% all the time. Otherwise you are going to have burnout. And I think when you are used to being paid monthly, that's how you see your income. Whereas actually in your business, it's not about monthly stuff at all. It's about the whole year, and even broader than that as a picture. So it's really shifting your mindset away from, I have to do X amount in a month and I have to make X amount in a month. It's like, how can I spread it all out over a year, make sure that I'm taking rest when I need to, and also listening to yourself. Like maybe you do just love to go 100% all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, everyone's different. I mean, there are like energy powerhouses, and but I do feel like, it just seems very much more achievable. I think the way you put it, you know, I think whenever people are broadcasting these sexy statements, to be fair, around money and business, it is sexy and appealing, but I do feel in a way it seems less achievable, and it's good for them, but that's not for me. I feel the way you talk about it, you know, that it's going to be a challenge, like that's giving people a greater awareness of what they're getting themselves into. Like, because there are so many people in 9-to-5 jobs. I feel, I'm not saying all 9-to-5 jobs are bad by any stretch of any imagination. They are perfect for some people, but that, you know, that's a totally different lifestyle than doing things yourself and actually coming up with your own worth, and you're in charge of your monthly, yearly income. No one else is dictating that for you. It's you having to say like, okay, this is what I'm worth, so like that's it. And you have to have the confidence to own that.
Yeah, it makes it more difficult as well, because I think on the sustainability note, it takes time to build that rapport with your clients, and it takes time for your community to want to buy from you
and everything, and sort of gain that confidence and trust back and all the rest of it.
It's such a slow burner. So I think that's so valid that you mention it, and it's just about having the faith that what will happen when it's time. And it's like blocking out any noise, whether it's from parents or friends or a partner or even other people on social media that you follow, it's blocking that out if anyone's making you feel like you're being
Yeah.
pressured. It does really take time to achieve this stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's never going to happen overnight, but equally you have to take the steps to get further. You have to take the steps to get closer, you know.
One of my favorite quotes is, what you want has already happened, time just hasn't caught up yet.
Yeah, or time just hasn't decided that now's the time, you know. Like it's all ready for you. I think it's just
believing that the universe really does have your back.
Yeah, I think it's like, just whether you want to call it God or the universe or life or whatever, like it really is all happening for you. It's just sometimes it's hard to believe it when you've been through like quite a strong sequence of things that feel painful.
Yeah, for sure. And I like to end each one of these, Hannah, on a little challenge. So I had got an idea that you do have the 7-day money mindset challenge already, which I have not done yet. And I have the 4 folders, 7 days saved. I know it includes a lot of tapping, journaling, abundance aligning. I have made my checkout, which I love my check, by the way, and I continually look at this. Just embodiment, visualization, meditation, all these kinds of things. So if that would be something that you would like to, you know, for me to share daily, you know, maybe do like reels or like long Instagram stories around whenever this goes live, that we could
100%, yeah,
you know, to sort of anyone that feels aligned to such a thing, or whether they sign up to your mailing list and they can be sent it anyway, you know, that would be like I feel like it has been something you have created and it's incredible, but you know, the masses, or nobody really knows about it because you only really shared it with a very small amount of people. And I think it's incredible, like the amount of work. It's word documents, it's your voice recordings, it's PDFs, you know, it's brilliant, and I feel like it could be really transformative and really what I need right now, Hannah.
Yeah, let me send you the link and you can totally share it with people. And it's so true, like I should share that more, I just haven't.
I know, things have got busy as they do.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%.
Are you happy with that challenge, or would you have thought of
100%.
something different?
No, let's do that. I think it's all about worth, and like money is such a big one for so many people. Yeah, totally. And it will unlock so much as well. Like it's not just about money, but it's about how you feel about yourself in general.
Yeah, because it's all about like going back to childhood experiences and everything. Like you could even change that word money and do it for something totally different. Like if there's some like a bigger issue in your life, I feel like the questions and things that are addressed can be you know, broadened to a lot of different life experiences.
100%. Yeah, let's do it.
Yay! Oh, thank you so much, Hannah. I really
Thanks for having me. This is amazing.
It was really just nice to connect and talk about like the important topics in life that people just aren't really covering.
Yeah.
Obviously you are, but
yeah. I try.
I try. Do you want to let people know where they can find you if they're looking, which they should?
So, the main places are my Instagram, which is at Hannah Rose Cluley. I've got a Facebook group called the Empowered Entrepreneur Society, which I think is amazing. It's a community. I go live once a week. Amy's like my second chair in it. So
cheerleader here.
You literally are. So you support everyone in that group. It always makes me smile. And then my website, where you can find out about what I offer, is hannahrosecluey.com.
And you have a podcast, which is unbelievable also.
I do. Thank you. I'm like, goodness me, I don't even know my own stuff. Yeah, the Evolve and Empower podcast is also great. I just have it basically whatever you like, I've got some options for you. If you like video content, Facebook group. If you like listening to a podcast. If you like more consuming Instagram content, then it's my Instagram. And then if you love blogs and articles, then check out my website. I'm everywhere.
And 5-star review is always appreciated on the podcast, right?
It is. Yes, please. That would be amazing.
We gotta reach the hybrids here there in the podcast.
Amy, you need to like be my like marketing guru.
No worries. Well, at least I'm actually glad to have known your services better than you today.
I know.
I feel like a true trooper out here.
You are. I'm like, this is so good. You just say it.
Oh, all right. Well, I would highly recommend if you're probably going to see this on Instagram. So go follow Hannah on Instagram, and I'm sure you'll find out a lot more about her. Her quotes are life. They're like literally what you need to hear and when you need to hear it. Just saying.
Thank you.
Bye.